Welcome to Do We Have the Answer, Ocean County Library's newest podcast where we answer questions submitted by you, our customers and listeners. My name is Laura, and I'm a librarian at the Ocean County Library, and I am joined by...
I'm Kate, and I'm also a librarian here at the Ocean County Library.
All right. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning,
to see you
Laura.
today. And actually, everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to us. I don't know. So really quick, I just want to explain how this podcast is going to work. This whole podcast is going to rely on the listeners, so we need you to submit questions. So to submit a question, we're going to ask you to visit our website at www.theoceancountylibrary.org. Then you can search for our events page, and then from there, if you just find the events for Do We Have the Answer, if you click on those links, it'll bring you to a form, and you can submit all of your questions. And just a reminder that we won't answer every question in the order they're received.
Yeah, we're trying to keep the content of each podcast kind of similar, kind of keeping a theme for each podcast. But keep listening. We're going to answer, everything we possibly can.
Absolutely. So get those questions submitted. We are looking forward to answering those. So, Kate, we actually do have some questions to answer this morning, which I'm very excited. Mm-hmm. And our first question actually deals with our namesake, the Dewey Decimal System. So the first question that came through was actually, how do you do Dewey? Which is actually a pretty funny question because I think a lot of our library users think that all the time. So we're going to explain in really, really simple terms the easiest way for you to find books using the Dewey Decimal System. This is pretty much we're going to focus on like nonfiction because the numbers I think is really what confuses people.
Yeah.
Pretty much what I say to people is, say someone comes in and they're looking for a book on like clothing, right? So, if you want to do this all by yourselves, folks, you can just go to our card catalog, you type in clothing, and then you're going to find a bunch of books, and then you're going to find the call number. Like it'll tell you what the call number is where you can locate it in the library. So you're going to write that call number down. So then you have it with you, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is just funny because we're so used to this, you know what I mean? So it's hard to explain in like,
sure. Yeah, of course.
If you're not used to this every day. Clothing can be in different sections, so you have to narrow it down to like what it is you're looking for about clothing. Like, is it, customs, like cultural customs of clothing, or just like style and fashion? So once you like narrow down exactly what your topic is, you'll write down the call number that you see in the catalog. So let's say it's 646.32. Let's say that's the number. So there's a decimal point in there, and I think that's where people get nervous.
I know, that always made me nervous.
I think what we mostly tell people is just focus on the first numbers, like the numbers before the decimal point, right?
Right.
So at the end of every shelf in the library, there's labels about what numbers are down that shelf. And actually, sometimes I find those numbers confusing because it's like a range of numbers.
Right.
That's why I think focusing on the before the decimal point is really like what can get you to where you need to go. So if you're looking for fashion and it's 646, find the 600s. And then just look at the end and find like 64. Take it number by number. Like that's the easiest for me, and that's what I do.
Sure.
So then when you find what aisle to go down, you go down that aisle. And then you just look along the spines of the books, go to the 6/4s in that area. Then you just go to the next number. So 646. So look for 646. And then once you get to that section, that's when you can just move to the after the decimal point, right? Because I think then too, that's where people just get so confused. It's just take it number by number.
There could be a lot of numbers after that decimal point.
Exactly, I know.
Depending on how intricate that, or how specific you're going into clothing.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, fashion. So maybe it's fashion in a specific country, and then within that country, a specific
Is it like shoes? Like
Right.
a garment or something
Right.
like that. Or,
Right.
A time period. Like that's going to have a different... So there's so many facets to this. But I think that's where people get hung up. It's like, don't get that overwhelmed for it. Like take it number by number.
And don't forget, there's always going to be somebody at a service desk. If you try to, navigate through the Dewey Decimal System and it's not working for you, you can always, ask somebody at a service desk.
Absolutely.
And we can even walk you through it as we're walking you through the stacks. Maybe, you can ask that person, can you walk me through how you're doing it in your head to kind of explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just like, you shouldn't be afraid. And like Kate said, like, we're always there to help you. The librarians, the library assistants, everyone's there. And we'll be more than happy to walk you down to the aisles to find your books. So really quick, just like a quick little thing about Dewey. There is a method to the chaos of the numbers. So just really quick, like each section, each number is considered a main class. So there's 10 of those. So it's 000 through 900. Then when you break down those, there's 100 different divisions. I know this sounds like science, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. It's like a class of what is it? The kingdom file. You know what I'm talking about?
Not a clue. No.
Oh no, I'm just, when you said that, it was reminding me of like class, kingdom, phylum.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's
oh, goodness.
Reminding me
yes.
of.
Oh, that took us way back.
Yeah.
All right. So there's 100 different divisions, which is actually the second number. So let's just take sciences, natural sciences, for example. That's the 500s. So when you get to 510, that's mathematics. But then 520 is astronomy and allied sciences. So it's all broken down. Then the third number is actually the sections, and there's 1,000 of those. So there's 1,000 different sections. And then after the decimal point, that's where it goes a little wild, and the numbers can just keep adding. But what's really interesting about the Dewey Decimal System is it has evolved over the years. It had to.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no. So, when it first came out, it was in depth, but it was very archaic,
Sure.
based on things when, computers came around, they had to add all of that stuff. Because remember, the Dewey Decimal System was published in 1876. That's when it went live for people to use. But the Dewey Decimal System, it works. It's been around for a long time. It's used in hundreds of countries, and thousands of libraries use it. Stayed around for a good reason, and, don't be afraid of it. That's all. Don't be afraid. Don't let it prevent you from coming to the library,
Yeah. I remember being, oh gosh, I was right out of college, and I chose one career, and that wasn't the career that I stuck with. And I was telling a friend's mom, I'm going to become a librarian. And she kind of I don't think she meant to make the face that she made. And I was like, oh, is she disapproving of I didn't know where she was going. So I just kind of said, I was explaining some stuff to her. And it turned out that she said, I haven't been to a library in years. And I said, oh, that's silly. We should go one day. We were so close to the Tuckerton branch at the time. And I said, how come you haven't gone? And she said, I don't know how to use the Dewey Decimal System.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. And I looked at her. I said, there's so much more to the library than the Dewey Decimal System. And there's so many people who can help you. And she was okay after that.
Yeah,
And it made so much, more sense why she was looking at me sideways when I told her I was going to be a librarian.
Well, it's funny. It's so funny when you say that, because I have memories of being in first and second grade, and you go to library, your library class. And, I might date myself a little bit, but at our school we had the card catalog with the little, index cards. And I remember just being like, I don't understand this, I'm going through these cards and I have no idea. So actually, I think that is what might turn people off a little bit, they're thinking back to what they did when they went to school and stuff like that.
And it's so different now.
So different.
And it was actually funny because when you started answering the question, you said, "Go to our card catalog," and
oh yeah. Old habits are hard to break.
Yeah, no, it was just funny.
I should say, yes, our online catalog.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things where I do remember that. I remember going into, we had a line of computers, but I don't think any of the stuff was cataloged at the time.
No,
it was in those really beautiful dressers with all the, oh goodness.
I know.
I didn't know what was on them or,
no
how
idea.
to do it.
And I just remember like going through the cards and I'm like, what am I even looking at? Like second grade brain. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people there to help you find what you're looking for. And there's something for everyone there. And we'll help you find it if you need it. Yeah. But it's also fun to just come and explore and try Dewey yourself. Try looking for stuff and it's fun.
And speaking of things that people feel might keep them away from the library. Our second question, I have late fees. Will you know when I walk in the door? So the immediate answer to that question is no. We have no idea what your fines are when you walk through the door. It would be very interesting if our world was kind of like The Sims and we had little quote bubbles over her head.
Oh my God, I love The Sims.
And, Laura walks in the door and she has, a little bubble over her head that says like 25 cents as she walks in. And a little alarm goes off. But no, that does not happen at all. It's nice this question came in because this, when I worked teen services, summer reading would come around and the kids would be like, oh, I can't get my books here. And I was like, what do you mean you can't get your books here? Yeah. They're like, well, I have some fines on my card and I can't take anything out. And back then, that was like 2013-ish. I would say to them, I go, well, you only have 15-cent fines. That was, that's okay. You can still take stuff out. So this question came in prior to July 1st. And for those of you who may not know, on July 1st, our Library Commission at their June 15th meeting approved the Ocean County Library to go fine-free. So what fine-free means is you will not have any late fees on the items that you take out from our library. You will have due dates just like you always have. You can renew your items, which still automatically renew as long as there's no holds in the queue. And then after your due date, so let's say you take a book out, you're able to renew a couple times. Yeah. After that due date, you have 7 days to return the title. Should you not return the title, you are charged the price of the book, but as soon as you bring that item back, it's taken immediately off of your account.
Exactly.
The other thing to remember, too, is there's so many things you can do with the library, even if you have fines. Let's just say you don't bring back 6 or 7 books, and they're charged to your account. Just like normal, once you reach the $25 limit on your account, some of your privileges will be suspended, like taking out items and using some of our e-resources. But there are so many other things you can still do here. So like I mentioned, when you walk in the door, we're not going to know. Yeah. So if you're in need of a computer or to print something, that's not going to stop you. No. If you need to browse real quick and just jot down some information, that's not going to stop you. There are some items that need to be returned on time and will accrue some sort of charge on your account, like interlibrary loan items, because they're not owned by us. So,
so we have to return those.
Yes. So not only do you have to return them to us, we need to return them where they came from. Yeah.
Should we explain what an interlibrary loan is?
I was just going to ask that.
Because if you're afraid of Dewey and you haven't been here in a long time, you might not know all the other exciting things you can do at the library. So an interlibrary loan is something that you can do if you're looking for an item, like say it's something a little older and it's for school or something like that, like you're writing a paper. We might not own that title because it's either really old or it's just, it's textbooky, very specific.
We don't keep textbooks.
Yes, we don't keep textbooks, excuse me. So you can actually submit an interlibrary loan request. You can just visit one of the desks, and one of the staff members can input a interlibrary loan request where we throw out that request to other libraries throughout the state, and it even opens up throughout the country. Right. and whatever library grabs it first, it can take anywhere from up to like a week to like 6 months to find a title.
Right.
But we try our best to find the title, and they'll send the book to the library here for you to pick up. So like Kate was saying, you'll be charged $5 if you don't pick up the book.
Right.
And then the same thing, if you fail to return the book, there's going to be a charge after that.
Sure.
But so that's what an interlibrary loan is. So just because the book might not be available at your library here, we can put a search out for it, and we might be able to get the title for you.
Yeah, the cool thing too is part of our website, there is a request form on there where you can submit your own interlibrary loan request. So it doesn't always require you to call us or come in. You can submit that on your own. The only thing that we do ask is that you do a pretty good search on our catalog to make sure it isn't something that we own first.
Absolutely.
But the important thing too with the Find Free and making sure you get your books back on time is a lot of people don't know that we have book drops at every single location.
And at the Ocean County Mall.
And at the mall.
Isn't that cool? County Connections, Ocean County Mall.
You know, so those are available 24 hours a day, minus the one at the mall. So if you have something in, the backseat of your car and you happen to be, driving home after hours, you can pop that item right back in our...
And you can return it at any branch, any of the 21 locations of the Ocean County Library. So many people don't realize that. So if you were at the beach down in LBI and you ran in there and got a book, but you live up in Brick, you can just drop it off at Brick.
Yeah, that's what's really cool. And I think that's like a little OCL trivia fact gem that people don't know all
and a nice
about.
Perk too, no matter where you are, you can drop off a book.
That is very cool. But if you'd like to know more information, because we have a really nice FAQ section on our website, and Laura had mentioned this at the beginning, it's theoceancountylibrary.org, and all the information for Find Free is on our fines and fees and policies page.
That's so exciting that we're Find Free now.
Yeah.
I love it. And a lot of hard work went into getting that done, but I think it's a wonderful thing for our community, and it's exciting.
It is.
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody.
All right. So before we move on to our next question, we're going to cut to a commercial break. Be in the know. OCL's e-newsletters. They send updates, programming, reading recommendations, and more straight to your inbox. Visit our website, theoceancountylibrary.org, or text OCL to 22828 to sign up today. Standard data and messaging rates may apply.
Our next question, this one was fun, and this one required a little bit of digging and a lot of work. So the question is, what is the oldest book that the Ocean County Library owns? So let me tell you, folks, this is not an easy question to answer. I actually went digging in our the Wheeler room at the Toms River branch. That is our genealogy and historical room at the Toms River location. I had to go digging through there to find the answer to this book. And like I said, it was not an easy feat. And it's no issue of ourselves. It's just publishing was not very reliable back in the old days. So a lot of the older items that we have actually didn't have publishing information in the book itself. So it would have a location and a publishing company, but there would be no year in it or no date or anything like that. So it was a little challenging, but I found some really interesting items that I think will satisfy the answer to this. So when I did a record search in our computer, the one I think that technically is the oldest is actually a book by Thomas Paine, which is The American Crisis and a Letter to Sir Guy Carleton on the Murder of Captain Huddy and the Intended Retaliation on Captain Asgill of the Guards. So this was, yes, very nice title.
You'll notice there's a theme when she reads all these titles of...
Yes, very specific and very long.
Yes.
So the author, Thomas Paine, he might sound a little familiar. So he was actually the author of the more popular Common Sense. So he actually wrote pamphlets back in the day. The American Crisis is actually a series of 13 pamphlets written between 1776 and 1783. So the one we have is actually like a bound book. But further inspection, it's safe to say that our copy is not from 1796.
Okay.
So it was probably a recopy, but there was no identifying information at all in the book. But I just thought it was interesting to note because it's so specific to our location, because it's actually on the murder of Captain Huddy, and right across the street, we have Huddy Park.
Right.
But it was just interesting to see, something so local and, Huddy Park. Like, if you grew up here, Huddy Park downtown. So that's what's exciting about the Wheeler Room. Like, you'll find little tidbits about the local history here. So the next item that I found jumps to 1811, and this is a book with a really long title, so hold on tight, folks. It is called The Picture of Philadelphia, Giving an Account of Its Origin, Increase and Improvements in Arts, Sciences, Manufactures, Commerce, and Revenue, with a compendious view of its societies, literary, benevolent, patriotic, and religious. Its police, the public buildings, the prison, and penitentiary system, institutions, moneyed, and civil museum. It's so funny how long the title was, and it was actually in the front title page, like all that long. So again, that was in 1811, and our copy, it was definitely rebound, like the cover, and there's no mention of an edition in the book. So usually, usually when there's no mention of what edition it is, typically means it's a first edition. And when I, looked through the book, it was pretty clear that those were some pretty old pages. And it might have been repaired at some time. I don't know if it would have been by the library here or wherever the item originated from.
Were the pages thin? I'm just curious how they were
the pages,
printing back then.
The pages were very thin. And, this one, it was a little boring title, so there was just a lot of words and stuff in it.
There's nothing in that title that would have piqued your interest?
That one was funny. So the next title that actually I'm confident is the right published year, and I'm pretty sure it's an original copy, is from 1824, and it's A Brief Memoir Concerning Abel Thomas, a minister of Gospel of Christ in the Society of Friends. Yeah, so that one, I was very confident that was an 1824 copy. And I even tried to do a little digging on the item and Abel Thomas. Some interesting facts, but nothing that really tied to like local history here or whatever. So then the next one that I'm very confident in is 1835 and 1836, and it's actually a directory of Newark with a historical sketch. So this book was actually really cool. It was like a little thin, like hardcover pamphlet, and it was just a directory of people and places in Newark, New Jersey.
Like an old school Yellow Pages.
Old school Yellow Pages, but it was just the coolest thing. And actually, I took some photos, so maybe we can upload them on our Ocean County Library Instagram.
Yes.
And we'll actually probably post a couple of photos about things that we talk about in this episode. So make sure if you're on social media, check out the Ocean County Library's Instagram page, and you can see some of these items that we're talking about. So the thing that was neat about the directory of Newark is towards the end it had advertisements of local businesses.
Oh, yeah?
And they were just little, like, blurbs of places and, like, what they do, but they were really pretty. Like, it just I don't know, it looked neat. It was pretty cool. So then the next cool item that I found, like, digging around, this one I'm very confident, 1854, and it's called Graham's Magazine, which is actually a periodical that's based out of Philadelphia, and it was published from 1841 to 1858. So we have an 1854 copy. And in this periodical, you'll find short stories, critical reviews, and information on music and fashion. So it's pretty much just a magazine of the times. But let me tell you, this book was like the size of a brick. It was so thick. So I don't know if that's how it came, back in the day. I tried to do a little digging of research on it, but there was actually a lot of information about Graham's magazine because Graham bought up different periodical companies and they kind of merged at one point in this thing. But it was really cool because they made it a point that they wanted to put information out there for the masses. So it wasn't geared towards like just men or women. It was geared for everybody.
Okay.
So it was really interesting. So then the next one, this is a fictional novel. So I know we want to get into some fun stuff. So this is 1855, and this is a novel called Kate Alsford by Charles J. Peterson. And this is just funny because it's a historical romance set in southern New Jersey.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And what year was that again?
That was
1855.
1855.
Okay.
Yes. It's funny, the books back in the 1800s, as I was going through all these, they have these beautiful, like, sketches in the front, like against the title page.
Okay.
So it's kind of, a lot of the items I was finding were, things about specific people. So they would have the portrait of the person or maybe a scene from the novel. And at the bottom, it would actually say something like page 50. It was a little blurb about probably what was happening on that page.
Okay.
So they're really pretty, these books. And then just the last one I want to mention, 1865. This is a novel called The Hero Girl by Thrace Talman. This title was really interesting because it was published, I think there was 3 different years earlier than 1865, and it was published under different titles. So I don't have those listed here, but they had different titles. So we have 1865. This was the first title that was used from the Philadelphia Potter publisher. So it kind of had different titles based on where it was published, which I found really interesting.
That is interesting.
So our copy is an 1865 Philadelphia Potter edition. And this is just the story of a brave woman during the Revolutionary War. I didn't dig further, but really interesting. So yeah, so just a list of some of these really old books that we have. But Ocean County Library has a lot of materials from the mid to late 1800s. Mm-hmm. And, we keep them in the Wheeler rooms. They're non-circulating items, so that means that you cannot check them out. They're really archived, we house them.
We want to preserve them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And a lot of them are actually in these archival boxes, to protect the covers and all that fun stuff. So yeah, so if you didn't know this, the Ocean County Library does have a like an archival room with all these old things. So that was just a sampling of some of the older titles that the Ocean County Library has. I apologize I couldn't really narrow down exactly what the oldest book was, but just again, it was the lack of information on the title. There's some old stuff we have there, so that was really cool.
That is cool. Very cool. So Laura had mentioned real quick, our Instagram page, and I wanted to give you our handle just in case that's something you were interested in. So we are at Ocean County Library NJ. You can find us. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube, and of course, what you're listening to us right now on Anchor FM. Each one of our platforms can be found at the top of our website. We have a handy dandy follow us at the top and the bottom of the page with all of the links right there. And then you can follow us and keep up with what's going on. Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool to incorporate the pictures of
absolutely.
the items that you found on
it was
our
really
Instagram page.
It was fun because some of these older titles, especially the novels, The Hero Girl had a really pretty cover. So, the old books are usually just bound in, whatever material, but then the spine was so ornate and, gold leaf and all this stuff. So, yeah, we'll be sure to post some photos for you guys to see.
I'm excited. I haven't even seen the pictures, so it's cool
yeah,
for
it was a lot of fun to go through some of these. There was quite a few to dig through, but really quick, what was so funny, I would pick these books that I was like, I'm certain this is 1801 or 1798, and I'd thumb through it and it's 1925 or, 1948, which is still
It's like a well-loved
yes,
book.
which is still, a vintage book. 1920s is now 100 years ago,
Right,
almost, or about, depending on the year. And then some of the ones that were, like the Hero Girl was actually in fairly good condition considering it was 1865. So it's just really interesting, and I guess that has a lot to do with, the materials of how the book was made and
Where it was stored.
Who had it
Yeah.
all along, if they were travelers or whatever. So it's just fascinating to think about, where these books have been and who's had them.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, somebody
No.
back in, like Thomas Paine, for instance.
I know.
Or, the person who wrote The Hero Girl. And were they ever thinking that some women in the year 2021 would be talking about their book on a podcast that, like, through invisible waves would be coming to your home on your phone? That just blows my mind.
It does. And going through these books, too, it was interesting to see where, where they were housed before Ocean County Library received them. When a couple of the branches were added to the library system, some of their collection came through, because they weren't originally part of that.
Sure.
So a lot of the older books that they had, came over to the Toms River branch to go in their historical room, the Wheeler Room. But another thing, too, like some of them are stamped, like the Bishop Library, which is in downtown Toms River. So it's just interesting to think, like, because my family, some family members mentioned going to the library in the Bishop building.
Sure.
So it's just neat to think, like, oh, like my grandmother might have read this book or, like passed through, it's interesting. History is fun. So Kate, actually, you mentioned just a few moments ago about our social media. So I think now is a good time to talk about our Beanstack challenge that we have for this podcast. Do we have the answer? So Kate, I'm going to let you explain a little bit about Beanstack and some fun stuff we have coming along.
So I'm going to explain Beanstack, and then Laura, when I'm done, will tell us what the secret word is for this podcast.
Yes. So with this podcast, through Beanstack, we are going to do a challenge, and every episode of Do We Have the Answer is going to have a secret word. So you're going to need to access Beanstack to participate in this secret word challenge. Yep. So Kate will explain Beanstack.
Yeah, so Beanstack is a one-stop shop for tracking your reading progress, activities at the library. You can earn badges by logging books if you register for any of our challenges that are up. So right now, since we are in July, we have our summer reading up. The 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten is a rolling challenge that's always open. So there's always something in there going on to kind of get you reading, get you
motivated to
read.
Yeah. Like in the winter, we have the winter reading challenge, summer reading. So just different challenges for you to, motivate you to read and do some fun things at the library.
Yeah, so you don't just have to pick up a book and read to participate in the reading challenges. So if you're somebody who prefers to listen to books, that's completely acceptable. Some of our challenges have an aspect where you participate in some of our programming. So there's a lot of different ways that you can participate. So for ours, what we're asking you to do is sign up for Beanstack. You can go to our library website, theoceancountylibrary.org/Beanstack to sign up. Beanstack is also available on their app on iPhones and Androids, and you can also access Beanstack through Alexa.
Cool.
If you just happen to finish reading a book, you just, Alexa, open Beanstack, add, I read another 10 pages today.
Now that would blow Thomas Paine's mind if he heard this commercial. It's blowing my mind. That's neat. That's awesome.
It is. So there's a lot of ways to sign up for Beanstack. It's completely free. So when you hear our secret word, you will have how much time? 3 weeks after?
Yeah, a couple weeks after. All the information will be on the Beanstack challenge for Do We Have the Answer, time frames and all that stuff. Each episode, there's going to be a secret word, and you're going to listen for the secret word. Then you're going to go to the challenge. You're going to register, do all that fun stuff.
Yep.
And then each episode is going to have an activity badge attached to it. So when you input the secret word for that episode...
For today.
Yes.
Which is?
The secret word today is... podcast. Has to be our first secret
now, Laura,
word.
is that all capitals? Is it all lowercase? How do we put this in?
It is all lowercase.
Okay.
One word.
Perfect.
Podcast. Go to Beanstack, register, sign up, put in that secret word, and listen for the next episode for the next secret word.
Mm-hmm.
You will be put in for a drawing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're
Prizes.
gonna, yep. So we'll give away an OCL swag bag. The items within the bag will vary each month. Beanstack allows us to pull a drawing from the people who submit the correct secret word, and then we will send your swag bag to the branch that's closest or most convenient for you for pickup.
So again, the secret word is podcast.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. So we have one more question to answer today,
Yes,
right?
and this one definitely ties in with yours. Whoever wrote this, definitely a library user. I love visiting the old branches, the smell, the history, the architecture. Are there any cool facts about some of the oldest branches?
Ooh.
Well,
I love fun facts. This is exciting.
Yeah. So I just so everybody knows, part of our website, if you do the drop down for about, there'll be a section for branches, and each branch has its own about page. You can find out the address, the phone number, the hours, all that good stuff. How to become a Friends member, which is something we'll touch on in a different episode. All that information is there. And there's also a little section, if you scroll down on each branch's page, to kind of review the history of the branch. So I went there and I pulled some information. I grabbed from two of our oldest branches, and I also found something from a more recent branch that has some history.
Cool. Love that.
So the first one is our Point Beach branch, which two women in the 1890s, Phoebe Curtis and Emily D. Wood, they decided that the little town of Point Pleasant Beach needed a library.
Sure.
They rallied up a group of friends. They established a library in 1894. So at that time, they didn't have the little red house to call home yet. Mm-hmm. So they were kind of little pop-up libraries in vacant stores until 1897. So
wow.
It was a little...
Yeah, like, hey, one day your library is, there, and then the next day, or not next day, but, a few weeks later, it's at another vacant store.
Can you imagine, taking the entire, Point Beach branch as it is now and taking the entire collection out and moving it to a different location?
So I wonder if they were, along Arnold Ave. That's where all the stores are now. That'd be interesting.
Probably.
But, that's cool.
In most towns, there was that main street with, everything going on there. Miss Emily Wood, she donated $500, and then Miss Curtis ended up giving a piece of land on McLean Avenue.
Wow.
$500.
And a piece of land.
Right?
Wow.
Just willy-nilly had some land in my back pocket.
Well, thank you to her.
Right? And that same year, the founders petitioned the Point Pleasant Borough Beach branch for some funds, and they were granted an annual budget of, can you guess how much their annual budget was?
What year was this again?
We are right around 1897. Something. Yep.
Well, let's see. The cost was $500. I'm going to say, I don't know, $200?
Oh.
No. That's such a weird answer. No. What?
$100. You were very close.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was the annual budget. So the hours were increased and a room was added to the branch in 1922. They also added the children's room onto that. And then by 1960, the circulation increased. They added another section to the library.
Cool.
Yeah. They got more money for a room to house the stacks. That was opened in 61. And then in 68, the library became part of the Ocean County Library System, where we started providing staff to them and more materials. But the building itself is still maintained by the Point Pleasant Beach Library Association.
Nice.
There was another expansion in 98, which was the meeting room at the rear of the building, which people use for programs, presentations, community events, and somewhere to read, study, and relax.
Yeah. Yeah, go visit the Point Beach branch. It's a lovely little branch. Beautiful fireplace, which I imagine is probably original.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. The one cottage room. Yes, I missed that piece in my notes here. The one cottage room, when the $500 was donated with that piece of land, heated the entire building.
Wow.
Yep.
That's so neat.
It is. That children's section is
adorable.
It kills me every time I go in there. I'm like, I need this in my house.
Yes. Yeah, that's very cozy and cottagey. So if you're into cottagecore, go visit the Point Borough branch. Very cozy and fun there.
Yeah, and a nice little garden in the back outside the meeting room.
Yes.
It's a nice branch.
Yeah, beautiful. So what else do we have?
So our Tuckerton branch, another super beautiful branch.
And that's where you grew up going, right?
Yes, this was my hometown branch when I was little, before the Little Lake Harbor branch was built in the 90s. So back in the 1800s, Louisa Farrow and Elza Farrow Price, they started a reading society and book lending service at the Quaker Meeting House, which is still in Tuckerton. You can visit that today. It's on Route 9 and 539.
Neat.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Another beautiful part of the town there. In 1875, the Tuckerton Library Association was founded, and they built a library. I don't have this information right now. Maybe we can follow up on it later. But the library was built and then moved 25 years later in 1900 to the Presbyterian Church property on Marine Street. And that church is also still there, too.
Oh, cool.
Eleanor Price, in 1917, became the library keeper / librarian.
Fancy title.
I like that title. I might put that in my email signature. So she started that title. She was 21, and she kept that position for 53 years.
Wow.
Yup, until 1977.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very cool. So then Dr. and Mrs. Clinton Snyder donated property where the library is right now on Bay and Cox Avenue. They started some construction where the original library was built. And then once they fixed that up, they then moved to the library again from Marine Street. They actually went down in front of the Tuckerton School and moved it right back where it is right now.
Wow.
Yeah, can you just imagine
that building's
floating
seen
it
a lot.
around everywhere? In 72, it became part of the Ocean County Library system. And again, just like the Point Beach branch, we, provide staff, we provide the materials, but the building and the grounds are maintained by the Tuckerton Library Association.
Neat.
Yeah.
The Tuckerton branch is the only branch I have yet to visit.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I know. I have to get there. I've been to every single branch except that one.
It's so nice.
It's lovely.
They have, for those of you who haven't been there, there's, the more modern side of the library, but this building that they keep moving around town, it's maintained as like a little museum.
Oh, neat.
So there's, a lot of artifacts from town and everything in there.
Oh, how fun.
Little tidbit too, if you want to know more about some of these branches, our 95th anniversary was last year, and we did a YouTube video series.
Yeah, oh yes, I loved that video. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
The branch managers gave a little history on all of the branches too.
Yeah, that was a great video. So yeah, you can visit each branch virtually and hear a little snippet about each branch.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. In 2002, there was another set of restoration to the original library with the original woodworking stove and artwork and
how nice.
Everything else in there. I mean, a hometown pride for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That one.
Absolutely.
Those are our two oldest.
Yes. So you said you have a snippet about a newer branch, so I'm excited to hear what you have.
Yeah, this is our Lakewood branch, which if any people have been there, you're like, why are you talking about the Lakewood branch? That's a newer branch. Yeah. But it does have some history. The earliest written record of a town library goes back about 145 years from now. Back then, Lakewood was called Bricksburg. Ooh. And the library itself was maintained by the Bricksburg Library Association. It was housed in a rent-free room and had 40 volumes. Anybody who wanted to partake in taking anything out of the library at the time had to pay. How much do you think they had to pay each year to be a library patron?
A year?
Sorry, I keep quizzing you
no,
on these
things.
things.
That's okay. 35 cents.
Oh, you wouldn't have gotten a lot of money then. It was $1 whole.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So the annual funding was provided through lectures, plays, cakes, rummage sales, parties, and dances.
Did you say cakes?
Yes.
Like cake sales?
It must be,
oh,
yes.
How fun.
Eventually, Bricksburg became the township of Lakewood, and then it changed its name to the Lakewood Library at that point. In 1903, the collection started to include children's materials, which it never did before.
Wow. Yeah.
Something you don't think about. You always
Yeah.
think the library, you think of, children's, teens, adults, the whole
yeah.
thing. No. Then there was a membership increase. I don't know how much that was. Could have been, $3 at that point by 1917. So at the time, the library was constructed on Monmouth Avenue, which now is Catholic Charities, which isn't, it's right around the bend from the branch.
So the building is still there.
It is,
yep.
Oh, yep, and Catholic Charities
okay.
now lives there. And at the time, the funding was provided by the Carnegie Corporation.
Okay, yes, Carnegie
Yep.
Libraries.
Yep.
Okay.
He provided private donations. I'm going to quiz you again with more monetary questions.
What is this? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm ready.
Miss Catherine Hinsdale, she was hired as a librarian for how much a day? What's her salary per
day?
Yes, per day. This can't even get you gas anymore. So
I'll give you
I'll give you a little hint there.
$2.
Yes!
Oh!
You got it!
Woo! Okay.
Gold star.
Yeah.
So she was a friend of Lakewood's most illustrious citizens,
Ooh.
John D. Rockefeller.
I was going to say, was it Mr. Rockefeller himself?
Yeah.
Yes.
He donated a beautiful circulation desk. In 95, the Lakewood branch that we know today was built at the current location on Lexington. And in 98, Lakewood's their citizens voted to join the library, and it was made effective January 1st, 1999.
99, oh, okay.
Yeah, so even though the branch, the building, the whole thing itself, is newer,
there's a lot of history there behind
in here.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know Lakewood was called Bricksburg.
Now you know.
But rich in history. No, that was awesome. I didn't know all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you think of Rockefeller and Carnegie, you think of New York City, fancy things like that. You don't think of,
Ocean County, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to take a drive through there because I'd love to see the original building. That was a lot of fun historical facts about some of the Ocean County branches locations.
Yeah.
So thank you to the folks who submitted the questions for this episode. We just want to remind everybody, we would love to hear your questions. Your questions is what is going to keep this podcast going. Mm-hmm. So please, if you think of any questions, you can visit our website. Again, that's www.theoceancountylibrary.org. Just go to our events page. Look for Do We Have the Answer in the events. You can click any of the events. We have it set up weekly. So if you just click any of those, it'll bring you to a form. And you just submit your question. So get those questions to us so we can keep answering.
I'm excited to hear what the next questions are. I'm excited to learn more about the library, too.
Me too. I mean, we've learned so much, like just in these few questions that we've, answered so far. I mean, it's fun to know where we live. It is so rich in history. Mm-hmm. And the library itself, just library in general, is a fun, mysterious place because you can just learn about anything there.
Yes, you can.
So submit those questions. Go visit your library. Go get a library card. Start using the Dewey Decimal System. And we'll be back at you with some more questions.
Yep, we'll see you next time.